By early 2026, Elon Musk's net worth broke past $850 billion. That single personal fortune now eclipses the entire gross domestic product of several developed nations. This wealth buys direct access to the levers of power. Domestically, he operates as a constant presence in the West Wing, where he has begun single-handedly cutting massive sections of the U.S. federal bureaucracy. Abroad, his reach is equally direct. He negotiates with foreign heads of state without State Department oversight and openly works to influence the outcome of European elections. How does the CEO of an electric car company quietly acquire the capital, the leverage, and the influence of an independent nation-state? The answer lies in a cognitive framework called first principles thinking. For decades, he used this mental model to solve complex problems in metal and code. Now he applies it to humanity. The first step of this framework requires you to systematically doubt every accepted tradition. You strip a process down to its undeniable, raw facts. From those basic truths, you build a completely new solution from the ground up. You discard the traditional form entirely, and you optimize for pure function. This is the same engineering algorithm that disrupted aerospace, now being applied to the mechanics of global governance. In 2002, the aerospace industry priced a rocket to Mars at $65 million. Using first principles, he calculated the cost of raw aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber on the commodity market. The materials cost barely 2% of that price, so he bypassed the industry and built the rockets himself. This adaptive, problem-solving leadership style treats every obstacle as an engineering flaw. He constantly reorganizes his corporate assets, cutting away any process that slows down the desired outcome. This strategy reached its financial peak in early 2026. He merged his artificial intelligence and aerospace divisions into a combined entity valued at $1.25 trillion. Securing a 43% stake in that merger generated the massive capital required to fund his next project, the deconstruction of the state. He poured $277 million into the 2024 election cycle to secure a leadership position at the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency. He immediately treated the federal bureaucracy the exact same way he treated overpriced rocket parts. He bypassed Congress, searching for components of the administrative state he could cleanly sever. The results were immediate. He bragged online about spending a weekend feeding the United States Agency for International Development straight into a wood chipper. He even pushed a proposal to default repeal all federal regulations, attempting to erase the American administrative state overnight. The Efficiency Department proved he could aggressively strip away the government's traditional form. To him, the democratic process was simply an inefficiency holding back progress. First principles thinking dictates that when a system fails to deliver the optimal function, you abandon it. By mid-2025, legislative gridlock sparked a bitter public feud with the president over federal spending. Rather than compromise, he walked away from the Republican Party entirely. He launched the America Party, a targeted effort to secure a handful of seats and dictate the outcome of contentious laws. Abroad, he routinely bypasses sovereign governments. Using his Starlink satellite network, he controls critical communications infrastructure in active conflict zones like Ukraine and Taiwan, making global security dependent on his personal hardware. In Europe, he actively boosts far-right political factions like Germany's Alternative for Deutschland, leveraging his massive social media platform to rewrite global immigration norms. Whether launching a new domestic political party or amplifying foreign populist movements, he is iteratively redesigning geopolitics to meet his exact functional specifications. First principles thinking is undeniably effective for manufacturing hardware. It builds a perfect, sterile machine. But applying this logic to human society carries severe risks. The inefficiencies he aggressively strips away are actually the mechanisms of democratic consensus. Diplomacy, regulation, and institutional guardrails exist specifically to protect citizens from absolute power. Combining this radical deconstructive philosophy with $850 billion in private capital creates a dynamic with no modern historical equivalent. By 2026, the distinction between a private citizen and a nation-state has blurred. He has assumed the role of a sovereign architect, re-engineering the globe without the consent of the governed.